Public electric vehicle charging networks have begun to ban the use of third-party adapters on their network and only want their customers to use approved adapters that are made by car manufacturers themselves. So what we're going to do here today is take a look at some of the adapters that are available today. I reached out to both Electrify America and EVgo and I got responses from both companies. We're going to take a look at those responses and try to figure out if they're just being overly cautious or if there are legitimate safety concerns, enough so to warrant banning these third-party adapters from their networks. So I got started on this topic after reading Electrify America's updated terms of use. Now they updated their terms of use recently. It actually goes into effect on August 17th when they had their new pricing structure. I did a full video on that a couple weeks ago. The company's transitioning from set pricing to a dynamic pricing structure where each charging station can have different pricing. It really depends on what they pay in that area. I'm going to drop a link to that video in the description of this video if you're interested in learning about Electrify America's new pricing structure. But in addition to having this new price structure, they also upgraded their terms of use. And after I made the last video, I read through the terms of use and noticed that there is a whole section now on third-party adapters. So let me read you that now before we go any further so you can see exactly what Electrify America has to say about the use of third-party adapters on its network. Okay, so this is in their new terms of use under Use of Chargers, Section A. You are permitted to use the network in the manner permitted by this TOU and subject to the conditions of this TOU, including payment of the amount required for each occasion on which you use a charger. When you use a charger, you agree to follow all applicable product, vehicle, safety, and technical documentation for the charger and for any vehicle that you connect to the charger. You also agree to use the correct equipment and connector type for the vehicle. Electrify America only permits the use with its chargers of adapters sold by automakers. Your use of any other adapter with the network is prohibited. You acknowledge and agree that the chargers are intended for use and are to be used solely for standard industry-manufactured automotive land vehicles, and that you are prohibited from using a charger for any other type of vehicle or electronic transportation. This prohibition includes, without limitation, electric boats, home-built electric vehicles, home-built onboard chargers, and vehicles that contain personally modified chargers. To the maximum extent permitted under applicable law, Electrify America will have no responsibility to you for any damages or losses resulting from your failure to comply with this paragraph, including without limitation any damages to personal property or arising from personal injury or death. You further acknowledge and agree to indemnify, defend, and hold Electrify America harmless for any damage, liability, or loss experienced by any person resulting from your failure to comply with the terms of this paragraph. Okay, so we're really going to focus on that one section that applies to prohibiting third-party adapters that aren't made by the auto manufacturer. But I wanted to read through the whole thing so you could see at the very end where it kind of says, if there's any damage, any bodily harm caused by you not following this, you're liable for that. So that would include if you used a third-party adapter and it melted, say, Electrify America's plug itself because the adapter wasn't functioning right, they could sue you to pay to fix their charging station. You know, of course, you'd have to fix your own car. They're going to say, well, we have no part in this because, you know, your third-party equipment caused that to happen. Now, there's definitely some concern about how they can prove that it happened. If you were to remove your adapter after it caused some sort of a problem, I'm not really sure they could prove that you had some sort of an unauthorized adapter. But that, I'm going to put that to the side for now. So after reading that, I said, wow, I wonder what the stance is on from the other companies So I actually reached out to EVgo. They're probably the second largest public charging network out there other than Tesla, and asked them for comment on this. And they were great. They pointed me to their terms of service that also bans the use of third-party adapters, and they gave me some a couple of emails with some information on that. So first, let's take a look at their terms of service to see what it says exactly as far as third-party unauthorized adapter use. Okay, so this is in EVgo's terms of service under authorized charging adapters. They have a whole section just on this. For your safety, EVgo only permits the use of automaker manufactured charging adapters on EVgo charging stations or with EVgo's charging network. Authorized adapters. Authorized adapters include 1. Tesla AC adapters for use with EVgo AC chargers. 2. Tesla manufactured, authorized, and/or endorsed adapters. That would be the CHAdeMO adapter and CCS Combo 1 adapters. And 3. Any other automaker manufactured adapter. EVgo prohibits the use of all other adapters on EVgo's network and charging stations and/or in connection with the terms and service identified herein. You understand, accept, and agree to fully comply with these terms. You also agree to accept all liability for any and all loss, harm, or damages experienced by you or any other party caused by your use of unauthorized adapters in connection with your use of EVgo's chargers, network, or the terms and services identified herein. Finally, you agree to indemnify, defend, and hold EVgo harmless for any damage experienced by any party that is caused by your failure to comply with these terms. Okay, so while the wording is a little different, basically says the same thing. You can only use adapters that are made by the auto manufacturers. And if you use a different adapter and there's some sort of a damage, you're going to be 100% liable. We are not going to be responsible at all for any damage or harm that happens. Okay, so why is this such a big deal? Now, why are these networks being so strict about third-party adapters? Well, you know, just like electric vehicle charging equipment, we're starting to see the market flooded with a lot of different adapters and of varying degrees of quality. And that is worrisome to these networks because there's a lot of power that are being passed through an adapter when you're on a DC fast charger. Now at home, when you think about it, home charging, even a high-powered home charger, say a 48 amp charger, you're throwing 48 amps through that charger at 240 volts, which is a lot, enough to kill you. But think about this, 48 amps at 240 volts. DC fast charging can deliver as much as 500 amps through up to 1,000 volts. So now this is a whole nother level of safety concern. And if these adapters aren't made to withstand that amount of power, bad things are going to happen. So I brought together an array of some of the adapters that I have here just to talk a little bit about charger safety and adapter safety. So we'll talk about AC adapters. These are two very similar AC adapters that I have here, but there's one difference on them. So these adapters are made to allow you to charge a car that has a J1772 plug with a Tesla charger. Like for instance, this wall connector I have here. I could use this wall connector to charge my Ford F-150 Lightning because it has the J1772 plug. What I would do is simply plug in my wall connector to this side of the adapter. This one's made by Tesla Tap. It's a 48 amp adapter, so it can handle the power that the wall connector can deliver to my Lightning. However, if you notice, there's no locking mechanism here. And if I were to trip over this cable or if just the strain of the weight of it, this can pull out. There's nothing holding it and locking it in. You don't want that. You don't want a connection while it's live to somehow quickly get pulled out. So that's a problem with this type of an adapter. Now take a look at this one here. As I said, it's basically the same adapter. This one's made by Electron. It's also a 48 amp adapter. But you see on this side here, it has a lock on the bottom. So now when the Tesla connector goes in, it locks. And I can pull it out. That shouldn't happen. Okay, I think I didn't have it in far enough the first time. So now it's locked in nice and tightly. In order to remove it, you grab this red button here, and now it pulls out. So this is just, it also has a nice little cap here to keep the pins dry when it's not in use, which is a good thing to have. So that's just one example of an extra level of safety. This video, as well as all of the videos here on State of Charge, is sponsored by Qmerit. Once I've helped you decide which electric vehicle charger you're going to buy, then follow the link in the description of my videos and have Qmerit install it. Now, that's on AC charging, which it's bad enough if you pull it out hot and it arcs. On DC fast charging, it's a whole nother level of difficulty if you have a connection that's live feeding power and it gets pulled out without shutting off. Now, take a look at these adapters. This is the Tesla adapter. This is the only one, this is an AC adapter. This is the only Tesla approved adapter. This is the one that Tesla makes themselves. So it looks very similar to this Electron unit and also this Latro unit. It doesn't look too similar to the one here. This one's made by EVgo. So the EVgo adapter doesn't have any type of locking mechanism, and you can pull it out hot while the vehicle is charging. If everything's working the way it's supposed to work, the CCS connector goes in here, and this gets put into the Tesla vehicle. Now, the Tesla vehicle, there's a pin that's going to lock this to it, so you can't remove it from the vehicle. However, the CCS1 connector here, if you lift this up, you can pull it. Now, if the connector's working properly, and this isn't broken, which it is on many CCS1 connectors, which is one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of the CCS1 connector. If it's working properly, when you press this button, before you could even unlatch this, the charging station's going to stop charging. That's a safety feature built into it. However, these pins are broken quite frequently. So somebody can easily just pull this thing out without pressing this in the middle of the vehicle being charged while power's flowing through it. And that's a huge issue because now, as I said, you can have so much power passing through this. You've got tremendous amount of arcing. Someone can get hurt. You could damage your car. You could melt the end of the connector. And that's a huge problem. So an adapter like this is definitely something that shouldn't be approved. And I'm glad Electrify America and EVgo don't approve something like this. Now it gets a little bit more fuzzy when you have these other adapters. Now, the Tesla approved adapter, see this pin here? When you push this into your Tesla, this pushes in and it locks the CCS1 connector to this adapter. And that's good. That's the whole safety end of this. But these adapters have that actually. Electron put that on theirs and Latro has it on there. So on the surface, these look identical. The problem is we don't really know what's on the innards of these. We don't know if all of the connections are put together properly. They're not really safety certified, these adapters. We're getting a ton of them coming from, mostly from Asia. Because I do what I do, these companies reach out to me constantly asking me would I review their adapter, can they send me one? I could have boxes of them filling the garage at this point, but I pretty much stopped now and said, no, I don't need any more adapters. What you really need is somebody like a Sandy Monroe to do a teardown of these and see what's on the inside. I know a lot about charging, but I'm not an engineer and I can't open these things up and really tell you the truth on whether it's made well or not. And the problem is there's no governing body doing that yet. And there needs to be, especially now that a lot of the automakers are transitioning to NACS. That's going to bring it in a whole nother wave of adapters. So once those adapters come out, once Tesla puts out the NACS adapter so that vehicles that have CCS1 could use superchargers, now you're going to see knockoffs coming from all of these Asian companies that are making them right now. And it's going to be an even bigger problem. So I'm glad that these companies are starting to put in their terms of use and say, you know, don't use these. I just don't think many people understand that some of them aren't made well and that you could have a big problem with them. You can't go to Amazon and just, you know, buy the cheapest adapter on something like this. It's a terrible decision to make. This was the first CCS1 to Tesla adapter. that was on the market. It's made by C-Tech. And this also has no means of really assuring that the adapter was locked during charging. And this was actually the reason that EVgo upgraded their terms of use a couple of years ago. Once they saw this on the market and said, you know what, you can't use this thing on our network because it's problematic, it's unsafe. People are going to get hurt with this thing getting unplugged live. So luckily, I haven't heard of any stories of anybody getting hurt, but sooner or later, if unsafe equipment is being used out in the wild, that's going to happen. But as far as these two units here, the Electron and the Latro, I've used both of them. I haven't had any problems with them. They seem like they work fine to me, but that doesn't mean what's going on inside is not a problem. The connections could be starting to melt. They could just be beginning to have a problem. I haven't used them a lot. It's not like I've used these for 100 hours. I don't know if they'll last. And until we get governing bodies looking at these and really studying them, I think it's hard to recommend buying a third-party adapter, not something that the auto manufacturer has approved, because you can bet if Tesla puts it out, if Ford puts it out, if General Motors puts out an adapter, that it's going to be safety certified. It's going to be fully engineered to withstand even more power than what's ever going to be passing through it. With these other brands, we just don't know. But I will say this is a one made by Latro. I actually like this one. It's their CCS Plus adapter, because you can also use this to charge on AC charging. These adapters you can't. These are only DC charging. This you can use to charge a Tesla vehicle from a J1772 connector. And they have this little flap on the bottom here, and it's spring-loaded. So when you're charging on AC, that's covered, which is nice. But when you're on DC, you pull this up, and that's when you put the CCS1 adapter in there. I haven't seen any other brands make this, and I've used it quite a few times. It seems like it works fine. But again, I don't know what's going on the inside of this, and that could be a problem. So as I said, both EVgo and Electrify America responded to my request to comment. So I'm going to read the emails now so you can see exactly what these companies told me about their reasoning for banning third-party adapters. We'll start off first with Electrify America. It was short and sweet. Electrify America only permits the use of adapters sold by automakers on its chargers. Adapters sold by automakers are certified to work with their vehicles. Use of any other adapter on our chargers is prohibited. The integrity and reliability of third-party adapters cannot be guaranteed and therefore are not permitted on our network. Okay, next up, let's see what EVgo had to say. A couple of their employees sent me emails. So let's take a look at the first response. The decision to call this out specifically and require authorized adapters is for safety reasons. We have seen unauthorized adapters for CCS to NACS not contain a locking mechanism for the latch, which would allow removal during a charge, which is a serious safety concern for arc flash. There's also concern of the quality of construction of these unofficial adapters, as neither the vehicle or the charger are aware of the presence of such an adapter and will not limit the current because of it. Tesla's adapter is rated at the full current and charge curve of their vehicle. A poorly made adapter could be at risk of thermal overload, or worse, if it is subjected to high currents for extended periods. Okay, and then I got another follow-up email from another EVgo representative. EVgo approach on adapters basically follows the Charin published approach that allows for adapters only made by the vehicle manufacturer for use with their vehicle. EVgo also investigates the adapter before approval, including teardown and written report to manufacturer. To date, we have approved only 3: Tesla AC adapter, Tesla CHAdeMO adapter, and Tesla CCS1 adapter. There is considerable activity in industry right now around adapters. The traditional IEC approach has been to forbid use of adapters with CCS. This is due to multiple safety concerns. However, simply saying in a standard it is not allowed does not prevent its existence. Now we have multiple automakers announcing intent to produce, and at least one state proposed legislation requiring NRTL approval of the adapter that comes with the vehicle. So there is now activity for standards bodies to address adapters specifically so they can be evaluated properly by third-party NRTL. EVgo employees are involved in SAE and IEC activity on this topic. EVgo is also involved with the ChargeX consortium of national labs that is addressing this problem with a special group. A draft of a FMEA was circulated last week by the group, which stands for Failure Mode Effect Analysis. Thanks for working on this topic. Although we have a policy that forbids use of unapproved adapters, we have no way to enforce, and there is not general awareness of the issues involved. So there you have it. EVgo admits that while they're banning these on their network, there's really no way to enforce it. You know, the car doesn't know that there's an adapter being used. The charging station doesn't know, because this is basically a dumb piece of electronics that's in between the two. It doesn't have really smarts in here that can be identified by the car or the charger. So that's a problem. And public awareness is going to be important. We don't want to see people get hurt with low quality equipment. We don't want to see your car to get damaged. We don't want to see you damage the charger, the connector, then other people can't use it. So, you know, it's probably best to err on the side of caution. I know you're going to be tempted to go out there and buy the first NACS adapter that comes out that allow you to charge your CCS vehicle on Tesla superchargers. But, you know, Tesla's going to be making these and selling them to the auto manufacturers. Actually, I just interviewed Ford and talked about this. Tesla's going to be making the adapters and providing them to Ford, and Ford will sell them through their online stores. You'll probably be able to buy it directly from Tesla if you want to also. But I urge you, if you really want one of those adapters, to buy the real thing. You're probably going to be able to get one on Amazon for $50 less within a few months of these things being out, because you know companies are going to buy them, reverse engineer them, and then start selling them, but you just don't know what's inside. You don't know if it's made to the standards that Tesla is going to be making it for. You could bet Tesla's adapter is going to be very robust. I've never had a problem with any Tesla adapter, and I've used the heck out of them. This is the standard J1772 to Tesla adapters that comes with every Tesla. Now, I know this is just level 2, but I've used these things dozens and dozens of times. Never had a problem. I've used my Tesla adapter quite a few times, not a whole lot, but probably about 20 or 30 times, never had an issue with it. But we've all become so accustomed to going to sites like Amazon and just scrolling for the lowest price and thinking we're getting a good deal because we save $50. That may be okay if you're buying, say, a lamp for your house or a beach chair or something like that. But when you're buying electronic equipment like this, where a tremendous amount of power is going to be flowing through it, it's probably not the best policy to just buy the lowest price. You have to make sure that that item is made well. And currently, there's no real way of telling if the items are made well. And you know it's going to be made well if a Tesla makes it or if a Ford makes it. They're going to have it tested to death before the thing hits the market. Some of these new companies that are selling these things online, they don't have a reputation to protect. And a lot of them are made overseas, where if there is a problem, who are you going to go after? You know, who are you going to sue if somebody dies or you burn up your car because their adapter didn't have proper connections inside and wasn't rated to handle the power that they claim it can? So, you know, I've reviewed a tremendous amount of electric vehicle charging equipment here at State of Charge. And I know for a fact, a lot of the manufacturer claims on some of these cheap equipment that we're getting is flat out false. I've reviewed chargers that they say the units UL listed, it's not. I've reviewed them where they are supposed to deliver 48 amps, and when you look at the wiring inside and everything, it's not rated to deliver that amount. Well, this certainly isn't the last you're going to hear from me on this channel about charging safety, and in particular adapter charging safety, especially now that the North American charging standard is going to be used by many of the automakers. I think all of the automakers eventually here in North America, but for now only a handful have come out and said they're going to use it, and they're all going to offer adapters. In about 6 or 7 months they're going to start selling adapters. That's what they're telling us, at least. I think the first adapters are going to be made by Tesla and sold through the company. So I definitely recommend, if you're interested in getting one of those adapters, to buy the real one, the one that's made by Tesla or offered directly from an auto manufacturer, because I know as soon as these things are out there, companies are going to buy them, reverse engineer them. You're going to start seeing them pop up on Amazon for maybe $50 less than what Tesla's selling them for. And the fact of the matter is we just don't know what's inside them. You don't know if it's made to handle the power that they're saying that it can deliver. And you just don't want to have a problem. You don't want to have a problem with your car. You don't want to have a problem with the adapter. You don't want to get hurt. So it just doesn't make sense to save a few dollars and buy something that could possibly be a safety hazard. Listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please don't forget, click that subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.